Hi everybody, I'm Tim Allums and I'm the trumpet professor here at Grand Canyon University, and it's great to be with you here today and to talk about these all-region, all-state trumpet audition etudes here. Now, let me give you some general practice tips. This can be for these etudes, also for other things in your practice. The first thing is when you're learning a new piece like these etudes, you want to live with this for a while, kind of like a steak that needs marinating over time. You want to live with this music for a time because it takes a while to get the technique, to get the right sound, to kind of get the piece sort of in your mind, in your emotions, and in the musician, so you can play even better and make the most of that music. So what I mean by that is don't wait until the week the audition is due. Use all the time you can, over weeks and even over months if you can. Now, you've probably heard the saying, practice makes perfect. Well, I'd like to edit that just a little bit and emphasize that practice makes permanent. So what I mean by that is that when you practice something over and over and over and over and over again, you get really good at playing it that way. Now that happens whether you're playing it right or you're playing it wrong. If you're playing it right and you get the right notes, right rhythms, right music over and over and over and over again, that makes a certain habit track that you're carving. The same thing goes for playing it wrong. If you're playing the wrong notes, the wrong rhythms, if you're stopping and starting every single time you get to a certain passage, what you're doing is practicing that habit groove and carving a different habit groove that's actually wrong. So either you're getting good at playing it right or you're getting really good at playing it wrong. Just be careful to watch for that. Now, another idea to keep in mind is that a recorded audition, such as an audition like this, should be the best that you are able to do. Now, you shouldn't be trying to go for perfection, but you should be trying to go for excellence and the best that you can do. So I want you to make sure that you take your time to record as well as practice the tunes up to the recording of your audition. Now, playing music in general, I would say, is like stage acting. So in stage and theater acting, you need to realize that the emotions and the things that you are trying to portray and get across to an audience, you have to kind of overdo. And this is very different from movie or screen acting or movies or TV shows as well. So when you're in TV shows, movies, and the camera is really close, something like this, and you make a small indication such as an eyebrow raise like this. It can be seen on a camera that's very close, but if you're trying to get this across, 50, 75, 100 feet out to people who are in the back of an auditorium, that needs to turn into maybe something like that. You see how it kind of overacting makes your point even more obvious. Music is sort of like that as well, so think about that as well. Now, finally, I want you to make sure that you look at the composer's edits and details in each of these etudes. This will give you kind of a sense of how the etude should sound and what you should do musically to bring out the most music within that etude. Now, one of those things is you should really look up the words in the etudes. You've got words such as lyrico, cantabile, marcato. Make sure that you look those up in a dictionary or obviously online. So remember also that these are only just general ideas of how to play each etude and don't offer all the necessary details. So that is where your level of creativity and musicianship comes in. So make sure that you use that and to really flesh out the skeleton of the details of the music and of the marks that are there to make the music really come alive. So the first etude here is technical, but it's not too difficult. The first thing I want you to pay attention to is that you've got a juxtaposition of triplet eighths versus duplet eighths. And you want to make sure that you get those very clear and very exact. Now what I mean by that is in the triplets, let's say that I'm just going to beat quarter notes. So da 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 da. Those are the triplet eights. Da 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 da. And in this first bar, you see you've got da 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 da. So that first bar, you've got the triplet juxtaposed with the duplet. Da 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 da. Now you can practice this with a metronome or clapping like what I'm doing here to make sure that you get the clarity and the exactness of the triplet versus the duplet eighth. So with a metronome, you might do da 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 da, and then da 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 da. Combine them, da 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 da, something like that. So you've got that happening throughout this whole piece. The other thing that I want you to realize in this etude is that you've got two contrasting styles going on as well. If you look at the first line, it's a lot more of a marcato or martial or fanfare kind of a feel. The second line moves to a more lyrical, more longer sostenuto, more of a longer phrasing that you want to use there. Then you return again to the last line, which is again a fanfare. Now, the second etude is a very nice etude, and while there are some skips and tricky parts, I don't want you to get caught up in the fact that it's difficult. I want you to make the difficult sound easy. And the way to do that really is to focus on playing beautiful music. Because beautiful music, it doesn't matter if it's hard or easy, it just matters that it sounds great. So go for that great, beautiful sound in this. Now, technically, you want to look at the meter changes, because this skips around between 3/8 and 4/8 and 3/8, and it also has some 2/8 in there as well. So make sure that you are looking at those meter changes and paying attention to that and staying in time with that. Luckily, in this, you've got the eighth note with the beat, and so that's something that stays consistent through each one of those measures that have the meter changes. So another thing to keep in mind is there's several spots in here, like measures 4 and 5, measures 7 and 8, also measures 11 and 12. Now they have syncopated figures which actually sort of hint toward more of a 3/16 or a 6/16 meter. By that, what I mean is it sounds like it's a triplet over a duplet, sort of like what we had in this other one. So in that, leading into bar 4 and 5, you would have da 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 dum de dum dum de dum dum de dum dum de da. See how that goes in more of a triplet feel, whereas it's written as da 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 dum da dum dum da dum dum da dum dum da da. So that syncopation hints toward a different meter altogether. But just pay attention to that, and you're welcome to think of that in either a 3/16 or a 6/16 feel, or you can just think of that with straight eighths, just like it's written. So good luck on that etude. So for etude number 3, here we have another etude with mixed meter, kind of like etude number 2, but here the difference is the beat is not going to feel the same between the meter changes. Whereas in etude number 2, where you had the eighth note be the beat, in etude number 3, we are given the dotted quarter as having the beat. Now obviously a dotted quarter is not going to be the same as a regular quarter note, and if you look in the first two measures, you've got the dotted quarter in the 6/8 bar, followed by the regular quarter note in the 2/4 bar. Now, in order to keep this very exact rhythmically and metrically with the metronome, one of the best things to do is to actually put your metronome on the 8th note. Now in this particular etude, the 8th note would actually equal 228. Now that's very fast, and it would make the etude sound fairly hectic. So what I suggest is to just slow the etude down, slow the tempo of the 8th notes down, follow those 8th notes such as this. Da 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 da, like that. And you want to just slowly work that tempo up to where it's more comfortable. Dun da da dun dun da 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 dun da 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 dun da da da. And then eventually you want to work that up until you are thinking in the larger beats, that dotted quarter and the regular quarter. So it would be dun da da dun dun da 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 dun 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 da 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 da. It would be sort of like that. So play with a metronome, get comfortable playing slowly with it, and then speed that up. Now, one more thing that's difficult here is in bar 10, you'll see that there's those octave skips. Just like with getting the rhythms right and getting the metronome slowly from a slower tempo all the way up to where it's written, those octave skips you need to approach the same way. Just start slowly, try to get them very clean at a slow tempo, and then just slowly work the tempo up. And make sure that it's right before you speed it up, because again, like that carving the habit track, you want to make sure you carve the right one. So etude number 4, I would vote this as probably the most technical and most difficult of the 5 etudes. So it does require double tonguing, but it also has slurred intervals, and it has a wide dynamic range. You'll look and you'll see that it has anywhere from a fortissimo down to a piano. So this is a very fun etude to play because it's very exciting. One pitfall that you can look at is the descending triads, which are 16th notes in bar 12, are very difficult for some. In fact, they are very difficult for me. So again, like what we were talking about with the more difficult passages in the earlier etudes, practice them slowly at first. Get them right, speed the tempo up, and you'll find that you'll be much more solid and you'll be able to learn this much quicker. So etude number 5. This one is unique and it has some other challenges that the other etudes do not have. So the one thing that you notice that's different is in the editing of the music, in the musical marks, you've got a turn and a double appoggiatura. Now the turn is basically a backwards sideways S, and we're just going to call that a lazy S just for simplicity. Now what happens with a turn is that you play the note that's written, you play the note above that, back to the same note, down below one note, and back to the note that's written again. And that is a turn. If you want to kind of get more ideas about this, more detail, look in the Arbin method book, because there's some great exercises and great details about the double appoggiatura and certainly about the turn as well. So in this first measure, you've got a turn on the very first beat. And the way that I played that, if you remember, the note above the note, back to the note down below, and back to the written note again. Now, the other thing that you want to look at in a turn is that you can see throughout the whole piece, throughout the etude, there are accidentals written sometimes below, sometimes above and below the note. What that means is the accidental that's above the lazy S tells you what scale tone and what accidental that you would play on that scale tone above the written note. And then the lower one, below the lazy S, would tell you what that would be below it if there's an accidental for the note below. So that very first measure, you see that there's an accidental below it, it's a sharp. The note below E is a D, that would make that a D sharp. The note above the E in the scale is an F sharp, so you would just automatically play the F sharp. Like that. Now you notice in the second bar that turn changes because now you've got a natural above it and a sharp below it. That means that you're going to play an F natural above the E and a D sharp below. So that's how that works. Now, one of the things I want to mention in this is that you also have this juxtaposition of the triplet versus the duplet. And you can find this in bar 4 in here. It goes to that triplet, and so instead of da dee da 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 da, it goes dee da 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 dee da dee da. So make sure that those triplet sixteenths and the duplet sixteenth or the duplet eighths, anything that's going on that side, those are very clear and very obvious. Now, the last thing that I want to bring up in this is the second to the last bar. There's in beat 2, a double appoggiatura leading to a trill. And there's different ways that you can interpret this. The way I interpreted it was I would stop the trill before that B, the very last note in the second to the last bar. So there's another way to play it too, where you can play the trill all the way through the C to the B. I just feel that stopping the trill a little bit early is a better way to keep this cleaner. It makes the trills just sound cleaner to me. Well, that's my comments for the etudes this year, and I just want to say good luck and hope to see you soon.